Hello, everyone. It's Linda Hayes again. Today I'm going to talk about what it's like in terms of moving to Belize. So, a lot of countries have programs to help you with this, and Belize is no different. So, there's some programs that are better for some people than others, and I'm going to talk about what you might want to look into before you're considering either coming to move permanently or for a short amount of time to see what it's like. So first, I just want to remind people, if you haven't seen my videos, why people do like to move to Belize or even visit. So you can see a picture of me along with one of my friends on a run that we did on the beach in Ambergris Key. So the weather here is perfect all the time. So in the summer, I find it a little too humid to go running, but the rest of the year it is perfect, although it's very warm. And it's consistent year round. That's the big thing compared to other countries. So it's never too hot, never too cold. So there's a lot of people from Texas that like to get away from Texas in the summer and they come over to Belize. And then, of course, a lot of Canadians and people from the Midwest coming to Belize in the winter to get away from the snow. Language is another really big advantage. So Belize is the only country in Central America where English is the official language. So Spanish is common for some people, but not all Belizeans speak it, although Creole is sometimes heard as well. And that language thing is huge for contracts. Also, when you go to the doctor, it's really nice to be speaking the same language. Property title is another big thing. We in Belize have freehold title, just like in North America. And the legal structure is similar to what we have in Canada. It's British common law, so it's not Napoleon law like they have in some countries. So the property rights in that are very good. The proximity to North America is another huge draw. So Houston's only within about 2.5 hours on flight, and Miami about 3 hours. And the prices are more affordable than other places in the Caribbean as well. So that's one of the advantages. So on the island of Ambergris Key, one of the huge draws is that it is near the second largest barrier reef in the world, but the rest of the country has a lot of great things going for it as well. So one of the places I just bought property is called Placencia. It's on the mainland, also has beautiful beaches, but it also has really great highways. You can drive in a car. On Ambergris Key, we're driving in golf carts, so a little bit different vibe, but both are great. And there's other great places if you like jungle activities and zip lining, cave tubing, all those kind of things can be found on the mainland. So I do a lot of trips over to the mainland just to get away from the island occasionally. So let's get into the options for what you can do if you're coming into Belize for other than just a vacation. So when you get in, initially you get a visitor visa that's good for 30 days. And what you could do if you want to stay longer is you go to immigration, you pay 200 Belize dollars, which is equivalent to 100 US, and once you're doing that for a while, if you want to do it a little bit longer and get, say, 2 or 3 months, it might be possible. And usually they'll ask you to show your lease and your bank statements just to show that you have, enough finances to support yourself while you're in the country. And this is what I pretty much did all of last year. Is after my first time renewing, I just asked for 3 months. First time I showed a lease, next time I showed bank statements, and then after the 12 months, you can apply for permanent residency, which is what I did. So the next option may be doing the QRP program, which is the Qualified Retired Person Program. So to do this, you have to be over age 45 and you have to have at least 2,000 US dollars of retirement income, which you deposit in a Belize bank. You need security clearance for this, and you have to be in Belize a minimum of 30 consecutive days per year. And the huge benefit to this program is that you can bring in your personal items duty free, things like your vehicle and your household goods. And you are able to start this process before arriving. And if you are thinking of going this way, I know of somebody that can help you with this paperwork. So just reach out to me. One of my friends actually went through this process. She lives in my condo complex and she really likes it. She's retired, so it works really well for her. I have met other people, though, that have applied for this and then decided it's not good for them because they still want to do some sort of work, even though they're retired. Because on this program, you can't work at all. So that's something to keep in mind and make sure you consider doing what the best program for you is. Also, the picture on this slide I put in here just to show you our solo women group in Belize. So we have quite a few different expats that have moved into the country. And so the solo women group is just a way for everyone to get together to get to know people. So of course I've talked about permanent residence and that's what I've applied for. And basically to do this, you have to be in the country for 50 out of 52 weeks. So stay for an entire year without leaving more than 14 days. The other thing that people may not be aware of is that it's not as simple as bringing all your paperwork in and applying and being done. You should expect to go back and forth to immigration at least 3 to 4 times, is what they've told me. And I certainly had to do that, as have many other people that I know. Once they do accept your application, though, you basically have an interview with immigration. And then after that, you'll get a police interview. So, in terms of timing, I applied January 25th and I had my police interview in March. So, that process took a little bit of time, but not all that long. And a lot of people will tell you that you should stay in the country until you have your police interview. And it totally depends. I happen to have left right after my January 25th application, happened to be back in Belize in March when I got the call from the police. But one of my friends actually was in California when he got his call. He told the police he'd be back. And as soon as he came back a few months later, they did the interview, but that's not always easy to get. So you may wonder if you should hire someone to help you with permanent residency. I didn't find this useful at all. I did have a referral and hired someone to do the process for me, but in the end, really, I ended up doing everything almost myself. And when I talked to Leah at immigration, she basically said if someone has questions of what to do, go talk to her. She can give the checklist to you, give you advice on what she wants to see for the different items, and you can also find the checklist online. And one of my recommendations would be to get the checklist early on before you're even at your 1 year and start all of your paperwork in advance. And another tip is that when you're doing permanent residence, they do want original documents. So the sooner you can get knowing what you need, the better it is. Now, some examples of some complications is depending what your backup is for financial stability, it can be complicated. So it is obvious that you're going to need bank statements to show how you make money. So in my case, my income is from rental properties in Canada and in Belize. So I had all my bank statements, but then what they also wanted was all my leases. And I had to kind of show them that, hey, I don't have originals. We do DocuSign. There's no originals. So that was a little bit of a complication that we ended up working out. But they also wanted, the property tax statement to show that I actually own the properties. And things like that all have to be gathered. And they may want more things even after you give them one thing. So just keep that in mind and make sure you be patient and be polite. And that is the biggest advice I could give you, is to just be nice and know that it's going to take time and then it will eventually happen. And when you do get permanent residence, after that, you can work. So that is one of the huge benefits. And then after 5 years of being a permanent resident, you can actually apply for citizenship. So I did put the link in here too to the documents online for permanent residence and the requirements. So there is another option that a lot of people don't know about, and it's called temporary residence. And this is valid for 1 year and then can be renewed. Now, the difference with this is that you have to have an investment in Belize of 500,000 Belize, which is 250,000 US. And the big thing about this is there's no requirement to stay for an entire year, which is a big advantage. So I do know one person who owns a hotel that has temporary residence, and I know a lot of other people that are thinking they may want to go this route. And 250,000, if you're buying your own property, that isn't actually a lot of money to have spent. So if you are thinking of buying a property, temporary residence may be a great option for you. So there is a few other programs I just wanted to touch on briefly. So the work permit is another way you might go. So you need to have a sponsor and only certain jobs qualify. I know a person that owns a resort. It's a mom and daughter, and the daughter mentioned her work permit was even hard to get, even though she's an owner of the resort. So again, just because you own a business, it doesn't mean you're eligible to work in it. You still need to get a work permit unless you have, like I said, permanent residence or temporary residency. So owning the business is one thing, but you still need to do something else to be able to work. Another program is something I already talked about in a video called Work Where You Vacation. And that's where you could stay in the country 6 months. And it is something that I have not heard anyone be successful in yet. My property manager said she has tried to talk to immigration about it, and they don't seem to know anything about it yet because it is done by the Belize Tourism Board. So we'll see how that goes in the future. And then the last program that's coming up that I wanted to mention is the Retire and Invest program. So this is kind of like a modified QRP program where you basically could carry on business in Belize along with being a QRP. So there is a requirement to invest at least a million Belize, which is 500,000 US, in a business. And you have to have been in Belize for at least 180 non-consecutive days. And the other thing is you have to employ at least 5 Belizean citizens. So if you are doing those things, then this program might be great because you do have QRP status, which means you can bring your things in duty free. And the other point here is that they say that permanent residency after designation as a QRP for 5 years will be possible. So that is a really great advantage if this happens the way they say it is. And then they talk about for the grant of any other license or permit necessary for carrying on business in Belize. So basically, this program, we'll wait to see what happens with it and hope that it is as good as it sounds. So if you haven't already done so, please subscribe. The more subscribers I get, the better. And if you are coming to Belize, I'd love to meet you. My next trip out of Canada to Belize is coming up in June for the Real Estate Guys Investor Summit. And after that conference, I'll be going to Placencia for another visit. So if you are coming to Belize, let me know your dates and it'd be great to meet up. Have a great day.